Hello and welcome to this lesson on healthy eating and your immunity. You might be wondering what your immune system has to do with eating well. Well, we're going to learn about that, but the gut is the doorway, the gateway to your immune system. So you truly are what you eat. Just my little disclaimer here that if you do have further questions and you want to explore this a little further, you can reach out to the Wellness Clinic and schedule a nutrition appointment. All right, so a little game, true or false? Carbohydrates are the body's preferred source of energy. This is true. The body does prefer to burn carbohydrates, so we try not to restrict those if possible. Coconut oil contains fewer calories than butter. This is false. Coconut oil and butter are both fats. They both have the same number of calories. They are different types of fats, so they do show up differently in the body, but calorie for calorie, they are exactly the same. Eating late at night can cause weight gain. This one is false. Your body does not know what time it is. However, we do tend to make poor choices in the evenings and late into the night, so that can certainly affect weight gain. Fruit juice has the same nutritional benefits as whole fruit. This is also false. While fruit juice is a great beverage choice, it does have a lot of calories with not as much nutrition. Primarily fiber is missing. So, if you're going with fruit juice, you want to make sure that it's a 100% real fruit juice and doesn't have added sugar in it. And if you're juicing at home, you can retain some of that fiber. Fresh fruits and vegetables are more nutritious than frozen or canned. While fresh fruits and vegetables are definitely more palatable, we enjoy them more, frozen vegetables and fruits are exactly the same nutritional value, so you can go ahead and do that. Canned does tend to take away some of the benefits and adds a little bit of sodium in the most part, but you can still do very well with some canned vegetables. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in here. You've probably seen this before. This is a really good way to just get started with healthy eating. And it's literally just as simple as looking at your plate. Keeping this in mind, you want to see how on the right side of the plate there is all fruits and veggies. Half the plate is fruits and veggies. So you can see that they've loaded up here, different kinds, lots of color. This is really important for making sure you get all the fiber and nutrients that you need. Now, you don't need a lot of starches, so that's why it's only a tiny portion of your plate, just about a quarter of the plate there, about the size of a fist. So if you make a little fist and you were to put it on the plate, or half a tennis ball if you have really big hands. And then also, same thing for protein, usually about a quarter of your plate. So if you cut your plate into quarters, and then half of that goes into fruits and veggies, and then you just split the other part of the plate into starches and proteins, you'll be all set. So the trick here is not to use a huge plate, but to try to stick to an 8 or 9 inch plate for best results here. And then, of course, always making sure that you hydrate and have fruits in your day. So let's talk about the different kinds of fruits and vegetables that there are out there. Different colors indicate different nutrition, so it's in your best interest to vary the types and colors of fruits and vegetables that you choose and try to get a wide variety. So always eating the same broccoli and carrots, well, it's really easy for planning. It's not giving you a wide range of nutrition. So try to mix it up and eat the whole rainbow whenever you can. And I love to add fruit in snacks and quick meal times. So if you're having a day where you just don't have a heck of a lot of time, grab an apple or a banana. They are the original fast food. And a lot of these things will travel really well. You can actually even use dried fruits as part of your fruit allowance and still get a lot of the same benefits. Whole grains and starchy vegetables. So you want to be careful with your vegetables because they're not all created equal. Some of them are more starchy than others, which means that they have less benefit, less fiber. They'll still have a lot of nutrition, but you'll get more calories for the same amount as you would something with more fiber. So you want to be aware of which foods have fiber in them, which are just starchy, which are processed, and kind of choose that way. So we already talked about, a quarter of your plate or your bowl with your grains, but making sure that you're also including things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, peas, squash, and yams. Even though these are starchy, they have a lot of nutritional value. The trick is to keep your portions small, and you'll be set up for success. Now, in the category of whole grains, whole grain breads, pastas, cereals, things like that, those are going to have a lot more nutrition as they're less processed. However, that's not to say that if occasionally you don't enjoy a regular pasta or a slice of white bread, that you're a bad person for eating that. On the contrary, it's quite all right. You just want to make sure that you're not doing those things all the time. So lean protein is really a benefit to your overall health. So when you can, choose plant-based foods. So that's things like your nuts, your peas, lentils, beans, even tofu, whole soy products like edamame. Those are really benefit. Nuts and seeds are a really great way. So I want you to be careful though that some of these also come with a higher fat content, and so the calories will add up. So you want to be very mindful of your portion here. Milk, yogurt, cottage cheese, all of these dairy products are a great source of protein, and when possible, choose a lower fat version. You can go down to 2% or 1%. You don't always have to go all the way to skim if that's not something you enjoy. Fish and shellfish are loaded with healthy fats, as well as being great sources of protein. They have a lot of other nutrients that we need, essential oils, the omega-3s. They also come with some vitamin D, so they're one of the few sources of vitamin D that we actually get from our food. And then, of course, eggs, poultry, and lean meats, these are really essential to a well-balanced diet. Not to say that if you don't eat these things, you can't get enough protein and get a healthy, well-rounded diet by using plant-based, but these are a really great addition to any meal plan. So, fun fact about fats. Fats are condensed calories, which means you get about twice the calories for the similar amount of volume. So, it's about 9 to 10 calories per gram, whereas your carbohydrates and fats are only 4 calories per gram. So you can see you get quite a bang for your buck. So that's why our portions of fats are very small. Now, fats don't generally come all by themselves in our foods. They tend to be paired with something else. So you'll have a carb in a fat or a protein in a fat. So your protein fat combo would be like your fish or your meat, things like that. Your carb fat combos would be things like your whole grains, and those kinds of things. So you really want to be aware of, kind of just what you're eating, and choose these foods that are going to give you a nice, well-rounded profile. So eating your good, quote unquote, good fats more often. So those are your nuts and your seeds and your fish sources, and keeping the saturated fats, things like full fat dairy and the high fat meats, keeping those less often. Now, trans fats are not something we really have to worry about in our food supply anymore. However, there are a small amount of trans fats still out there in the food supply, and these are mostly in processed foods. So make sure you're checking your label for things that say partially hydrogenated oils, because those are likely to have a trans fat. Even if it says 0% on the label, you still have a potential to have these trans fats if there's a very small amount, and even small amounts can cause damage. And then you want to make sure that you're limiting these high saturated fat foods, and you'll know that they're saturated fat if they become solid at room temperature. So, when you leave things sitting out, if they become hard and get that white, so that's things like your fat on meat, your lard, your butter, and even coconut and palm oil. It is so important to hydrate, and this is the one thing that clients struggle with the most. So make sure that you are replacing the water that you're using through living. So every time we breathe, every time we go to the bathroom, every time we sweat, we are losing fluid. So just breathing, if you don't sweat or do any of the other things, you're still losing water with breathing. So we have to replace that. So water is always the best. However, things like soups and juices and those kinds of things do count, but some of them tend to be loaded with extra calories we don't need, like your sugary sodas, sweetened teas, juices, things like that. So you want to be really careful. Herbal teas are a great way to hydrate with no calories and no additives, so that's something to consider. Sparkling water for that refreshing fizz feeling, that's a really great way to go. And if you're not sure if you're getting enough to drink, just try to get about a half of what you weigh in ounces every day. So if you weigh 200 pounds, then you want 100 ounces of water every day. And I just use that for a quick math. All right, so let's talk about how this relates to our immunity. And in the interest of keeping these lessons very short and sweet, this is a very, very basic overview, okay? So B vitamins are excellent for boosting your immunity, and you can see here on this slide all the different sources of the two B vitamins that we're specifically concerned with, the B6 and the B12, and then you can get all kinds of good immune boosting nutrients from eating a wide variety of those colored fruits and vegetables like we mentioned. So the immune system does start in your gut. So as you are digesting food and building up the bacteria that live in there, adding in those probiotics, that's really great for boosting the immune system. Now, the immune system cannot function as well as it needs to if it's dehydrated. Dehydrated cells are very sluggish, so we want to make sure that we're very well hydrated, and that's all the time. So make sure you're drinking your water, and again, water is the best thing to do for that. And then as far as our healthy diet, focusing on those healthy fats, right? The fish, the nuts, the seeds, the whole grains, and then the B vitamins, vitamin C and folic acid. And specifically in your minerals, you're looking at zinc, selenium, copper, and iron. So making sure that you're getting good sources of these from your food is the best way to boost your immune system. Now, I get asked all the time if you can take a supplement for these, and while you can, most of us don't use all of the nutrients that come in a vitamin, and if you're not careful where your vitamin is sourced from, you might not actually be getting what you're paying for. So I want you to be very careful with that and try to use food sources first, because those, of course, are going to be the better plan. And that concludes this little mini lesson on your healthy diet and immune system. If you have more questions or would like to schedule an appointment, you can reach out to the Moog In Health Wellness Clinic. Thank you so much. Have a fabulous rest of your day.